CEO of Loosen the Cords That Bind LLC. It's a for-profit business. Thank you again for joining me on tonight. I would like to give honor to God, who's the head and the foremost of my life, and I thank God for this time and this season and this platform that He has allowed me to be on. And I also thank God for the honor of this radio station, Pastor Frampton Paul and Lady Michelle Paul, the owners of TruelifeRadio.net. I pray that God will just truly bless them above and above all that they can even ask or think that that they may want for nothing. I thank God for them tonight. And again, please like, click, and share. If you're on the conference call now, I know that you cannot do that, but afterwards, would you kindly, when you get up, could you kindly be so gracious and just share this, because somebody needs to hear it. Maybe you don't need to hear it, but you hear it and listen for someone else. It may not be of interest to you on tonight, but it may be important for someone else. And just to let you know again, I will be on TrueLifeRadio.net every second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Again, that's every second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And Loosen the Cords That Bind is a for-profit is a for-profit organization of a business, and we promote wellness and safety to those who are in abusive relationships and situations. We are dedicated to educating, equipping, and encouraging and training individuals. Those are individuals, groups, organizations, and communities, and our houses of faith at large. We want to bring about an awareness of violence through programs, training, seminars, counseling, and referrals, as well as relevant resources to aid and support individuals and clients to navigate them to their next. Because we know that abuse is not the final destiny for people. There is life after abuse. Again, through the relevant resources that we offer, collaboration also with other agencies, we bring about a wholeness to the families as well as the communities. Because if the families are whole, the communities also will be whole. Amen. So you may ask us how we're going to do this. We are going to do this one cord at a time. Again, my mantra is you don't have to stay in a situation. Why be bound when you can't be free? There is hope for your life. You are not alone. And don't think if you're in a situation of abuse, there is a way out. You don't have to get stuck there. You don't have to be there. There are people willing to help you. There are places that are willing to help you get where you need to go. But all you have to do is reach out. You have to make that first step. Remember, just make that first step. That's all you have to do. Okay, going along, numbers to call. Okay, this is the domestic violence hotline number, and that number is 1-800-621-4673. Again, that number is 1-800-621-4673, and the 4673 spells hope, right? Okay, and if you're in a diverse a place where you're really in trouble and it's an emergency, please call 911. Don't try to call these other numbers. Call 911. Okay, and this is another number, and it's Safe Horizons number, and that number is 1-855-234-1042. Again, that number is for Safe Horizon, 1-855-234-1042. And if you're outside of the city of New York, you can dial 1-855-484-2846. Again, if you're outside of New York City, the number again to call is 1-855-484-2846. Now, if you want to connect with me, my number is 1-800-454-4639. Again, 1-800-454-4639. If you want to email me, reach out through email. That is loosening the cords at looseningthecords.bind.com. Again, my email address is looseningthecords at looseningthecords.bind.com. The website is looseningthecords.bind.com. Again, the website is looseningthecords.bind.com. And the email address is looseningthecords at loosenthecords.bind.com. Amen. Please know that, as I always reiterate, domestic violence is never okay, and it's a crime punishable by law. And if you're in, again, in such a relationship, then reach out for help, and definitely you will get the help that you need. Okay, let's go. All right, now, last, before we was doing things on Domestic Violence Month, now that's over, I'm going to move forward into, it's still about emotional abuse. What I'm still saying is about emotional abuse. It's a vast subject, okay? And tonight I will be dealing with you and having a conversation with you about emotional distancing, okay? Okay, we know that there's a thing that we have been placed, because it is in place, called social distancing, and it's also called physical distancing. It's another name for it. However, it means keeping a safe space between yourself and other people who are not from your household. Okay, so if it's in your household, and if they're not really out there like that, then the space is okay. But other things, if you go out there, you should be at least 6 feet. They like say 2 arms length away from the other person. So that's to protect you and to protect the other person as well. Okay. Again, emotional distancing is defined as a relationship in which people separate themselves from others. Really, it refers to a psychological distance that can cause, it could be caused by a culture shock that is associated with, like we have so many different types of emotions, such as sadness, anger, estrangement, unhappiness, and frustration. However, emotional distancing was the optimum coping strategy. However, whether you know it or not, this is something that we learned earlier in life, whether it was from a family member, co-worker, friend, or even a partner. You know, like sometimes you have family members that sometimes you have to distance yourself from sometimes. Even co-workers. I had some rude co-workers when I was working, and sometimes I distance myself by not being around them or just staying silent and not have anything to say. As so with friends and our partners, the same thing goes, right? But these things sometimes doesn't happen right away, like we're getting ready to get into now. Again, it's social distancing. It's a method or a strategy that one time serves a purpose. Emotional distancing, I would say, is an all too common pattern that originated with our first love, which is our mother and our fathers. Okay, why is that? Because we learned that from our parents. Because of the fact of the matter is that when we were young, of course, we were closely knitted to them and attached to them. But as we go older, as life taught us lessons, like we had to go to school, we had to go to daycare and stuff like that, and eventually growing up and get out of the house. So, it's kind of somewhat detached, but we still have that the emotional part for our parents, of course. Also, we would say, I would say again, how would you create some social distancing? I would ask you that question. Like with everything else, we need time and experience to learn to give ourselves emotional distance. Why? To manage stress and to think before making decisions. And some of us don't know how to do that when we are constantly dealing with complicated conditions or circumstances. It says how to manage stress. Sometimes we need to give ourselves, what it's saying is sometimes we learn we need to give ourselves that distance so that we can be able to manage stress and to think before making decisions. Because sometimes we make rash decisions that we regret later. So that's why sometimes we need that distance, that psychological part of it, let our minds calm down and so that we can think properly. Okay? Once creating emotional distancing is a strategy that lets us see and feel things in a different kind of way. When we give ourselves time for our emotions, like anger, to lose the strength, meaning that the anger the anger may be on 10 or 100 when it's going on, but if you give it time to lose its strength, that could come down to like maybe 25. Okay? And also, this allows us to clearly understand what we are thinking about it and how we want to act, meaning that we shouldn't just jump off the cap. We need to take time and figure out how this is going to affect us later. In other words, it helps us to better manage our emotions and help us to view our opinions and actions like our attitudes toward another person. Instead of you going to go and jack somebody up, you're going to think about it first. You may want to jack somebody up, or you may want to give them a couple of choice words. However, we know that's not the right thing to do. So sometimes we allow our emotions just to run away, all the way with us, away from us, and then we're in a bad situation and we become an emotional mess later on. Why? Because we didn't take the time to really think things out before we spoke, before we act, before we cast those shades, I would say. So we have to be better about learn to control our emotions. Okay, you say, well, what do we have to do to create some emotional distance? I would say again to you, there is no magical recipe for that. Why is that? I'm so glad that you asked that. It's because it depends on many personal, circumstantial, and relational factors. So what might work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. We all are different people, and we have different things going on in life. So it's not like a cookie cutter, or a one size fit all kind of thing. Sometimes, again, if you ever noticed, sometimes we carry some people with us everywhere, and distancing ourselves from emotions that they generate in us is one of the most complicated things or tasks we can have to ever carry out. Again, we sometimes carry people with us everywhere, and distancing ourselves from emotions. So it means that the people that we carry around with us, they generate these emotions that we have to deal with, but it's complicated to separate of them from from the people, basically. So you're just stuck at a certain point, because all these things, all these emotions, they are still generating, and you're still there, and you can't break free and get away from it. Let me reiterate this. It's necessary to give ourselves time to settle our emotions. We need time to settle our emotions. I don't care what it is. We need the time to settle it. We can't sometimes. Some people may be able to settle it more quickly, I would say, than others. Maybe that's not your story. Again, for example, think about a traffic light and how it goes from red to yellow to green. For instance, think about when we are insulted. The light probably goes from yellow to red. In other words, when we are overcome with anger, sadness, happiness, or any other emotion, our traffic light is red, and therefore we shouldn't make any decisions. It's just like we're driving a car. Those are drivers. You're driving a car. Here comes the red light. What do? With common sense will tell you to stop at the red light, and that's mostly what we do. But we have some people that what happens if you go right through that red light? What that causes? That causes a collision. That causes trouble. That decision, rash decision that you made because you didn't want to stop at the red light, caused somebody to lose their life, or for you to lose yours, or some limbs or something like that. So we should never be so rash just to get a point across. We have to learn how to listen and just stop sometimes. Okay? When that traffic light is red, we should curb our emotional reactions and give ourselves time to gain control over our thoughts and also feelings and our actions as well. Why are you in such a rush? We need to observe the situation and distance ourselves if necessary, but I would say to you, don't make any permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. Did you hear me? I said, don't make any permanent decisions based on a temporary emotion. Because like I said, our emotions go everywhere. But don't base that decision permanently on that, because after that, you can't change it afterwards. You may change your mind, but that decision right there could be that to cost you whatever you were chasing or looking for, and now you don't have it. It's gone because of the fact of your rash decisions that you made, so quickly. Give yourself time to calm down. Give yourself time to make that decision. Even though you have a strong desire to say a few words to somebody or shout at them or whatever the case would be, sometimes it's best not to say anything. Even though the person is screaming and yelling, and fact of the matter, if you are in an argument or a disagreement with your spouse or friends or anyone else, sometimes you just need just to say, somebody has to be the bigger person and walk away from it. You don't have to show yourself to be so big and whatever else the case would be. Learn to walk away from things, because no one's going to hear each other. If he's screaming and you're screaming, or vice versa, you're not going to be able to understand whatever each other is saying or understand them at all, because everybody wants to be heard. As time passes, however, things feel less important, and some of the things that made you or made us upset become so trivial or insignificant. Okay, that means that as time passes, if we allow this thing, this agreement or disagreement or decision, we just want to get, if we allow it just to be still and whatever, we should be able to handle it better, and it won't be such a big deal when we get to it again. So everybody will be able to be able to voice their opinion. Amen. These are some of the signs of emotional distance in a love relationship. Is your boyfriend or husband physically present, but emotional distance? You ever had someone, or you was with someone, and it didn't even have to be a boyfriend or a husband or whatever, or a girlfriend or whatever the case would be. You could be with someone or be around someone. Their body may be there physically, but emotionally they are somewhere else. They're distant. And this is characterized by a lack of an emotional or spiritual or intellectual thing or connection with your partner, of course. Sometimes you may feel that you're talking to and sharing your feelings with a wall. Because if the wall answers you, if the wall answers you, then he answered you or she answered you. Sometimes people can detach themselves so far away from you. It. I remember the time of going through things with my husband. I could be laying right next to him, and it feels like there's no one in the bed, or vice versa. Or you could be in a crowd, or you could be somewhere with family members or whatever the case would be, and you feel like you're around people, but you're still not there. You're kind of distant from everyone else. When they decide to, and what happens if these people now that we are talking about, that are distant from you, when they decide to offer a response, it's far-flung. Also, it's remote, or then it's reserved, or it lacks intimacy. There's no intimacy at all whatsoever. And let me reaffirm this. Intimacy is not always sexual. You can cuddle and be intimate. Just the closeness of it. It's hard to think that your relationship isn't healthy. However, the truth will set you free. You got to realize sometimes we earn some things and we need to get out of it, and we keep lying to ourselves about it's going to get better. I just say that all the time. Oh, okay. Oh, you're going to get saved one day. It's going to get better. No, that didn't happen. But it all depends on the person at the same time. Okay? For regular people, emotional distance is a sign of a future breakup or separation or divorce. If you're going through these things and you're dealing with some of these things right now, your marriage or your relationship, either a friendship, there is eventually something's going to happen to that. If you continue to be emotional distance from a person, it's a sign already. Okay. Sometimes intimate partners may develop a certain defenses or defensive mechanism just to hide their feelings and protect themselves from pain. So sometimes people become distant because they don't want to be hurt as well. So what they do, instead of going through the drama, trying to explain it and all like that, they just begin to distance themselves from you. So they don't want to deal with that hurt. They don't want to deal with that rejection or none of that. The signs of emotionally distancing can range from the silent treatment, which I spoke about a while, not too far back. It could be from silent treatment to no physical interaction at all. And this is a destroyer of relationships. Emotional distance is a destroyer of relationships. Okay? Again, we all search for love and support and care in our relationships. However, whether you want to enrich a healthy relationship or not, or maybe you just want to refresh the one that seems like they would say when I was reading, it says roommate marriage. What's a roommate marriage or relationship? Somebody, if you have a roommate where you share a room with somebody, but that's all you share. Nothing else. Nothing else is shared in a roommate, but your presence is right there. That's it. And you're distant because you're not in any type of intimate relationship. It's just a roommate situation. So sometimes people's marriages are like that. Sometimes their relationships are like that. If that's you, then you need to refresh that thing that is dying. It needs resuscitation. Some of our relationships are dying, marriage and regular, because of our distancing toward each other. Not the social distancing, but the emotional distancing. One thing you have to do, there is one thing that you need to be cognizant of, and that is it is emotional distance, not conflict, that destroys a marriage or a relationship. Again, it's not emotional, but I said, and it is emotional distance, not conflict, that destroys a marriage or relationship. So sometimes people said, because of whatever. No, it's because of the distancing. It starts after a while. It doesn't all the way, becomes what it becomes and gets serious, but it starts slowly, and then it begins to build up. It starts from rejection or all these other things, verbal abuse or physical abuse or whatever, and it begins to layers then are added onto that. If you want to create a stronger or more secure relationship, I would say you need to be attuned and responsive to each other. And then again, you need to really establish that emotional foundations of your relationship by reaching in sometimes your deepest and most delicate things. You really mean that you need to learn how to be open with each other. Some people don't want to be transparent because, that makes them feel really, sometimes they're insecure about that. And you have to know who to be transparent to, certainly. But if it's your mate and stuff like that, you've been together for a while, he needs to know how you feel, or she needs to know how you're feeling about certain things. By recognizing that you are dependent on your partner, and in fact, this is another way to show it by you're showing that you are dependent upon your partner and you're emotionally attached to them, him or her, the same way that a child is attached to their nurturing parent. You need that attachment. Once that is detached, your emotions are detached, it's hard to get reattached again. I know, been there. It's hard to get, especially when you distance yourself from somebody and they continue to do the same thing over and over and over, and you give them chances or whatever the case may be. And after a while, you say, okay, then you start pulling back, and then you start doing, then you pull back a little more and a little more until before you know it, you're already separated. You're already detached, fully detached. Okay. Again, the secret. What I would say the secret of a successful marriage or relationship is turning towards. Well, and what do I mean by that? Again, I'm so glad that you asked me that. Well, according to Dr. Gottman, he's a known therapist. He found out that partners who stay together after years of marriage or being together tend to turn towards each other's emotional bid. Okay, for connection. Okay, what's emotional? What's a bid? An emotional bid is a signal for affection, attention, or any other positive connection that one partner sends to the other. The emotional bond between the partners of foundation for keeping is the emotional bond again between partners is a foundation for keeping love alive and making sure that the conflicts are just challenges. It's not something really grand and big about. It's the challenges that they face together and the ways that they strengthen their relationship. On the other side of turning to is there's a turning away or against emotional bids. That means that if I'm turning to my husband and I'm making these little gestures or signals of affection and anything of that nature, okay, and he continually turning me away from it, or he turns away from it, instead I'm turning to and he's turning away from it, this causes, it kills and creates an emotional distance that easily turns soulmates and lovers into strangers. Additionally, many couples offer that they sometimes said that their sexual intimacy has faded away after years of marriage. However, on the other side, once a passionate relationship has turned over time into resembling, again, the roommate marriage, they lose the spark sooner or later, and it's gone. Also, sometimes the sexual problems sometimes may cause, they may have something sexual going on that they may have a dysfunction or maybe either or person. Sometimes the men have it, sometimes the women have it. Okay, if you're having this issue and feel that the emotional and sexual intimacy is falling apart, then you need to start working on it together and rekindling your closeness together ASAP. Why? Because no matter how distressing conflicts are usually not the thing that will kill your relationship. Again, what will destroy it? However, it's the emotional distance between you and your partner. The emotional distance between partners usually develops slowly. As I said before, it doesn't happen right away. It develops slowly, making it easy to miss it. Sometimes sometimes they'll keep saying, okay, maybe I'll pay attention, turn towards her next time, or whatever the case would be. But again, sometimes it becomes to the point that they miss it, and it becomes unfixable, irreversible, or irreplaceable. You just don't deal with it anymore. So I would say to you as a suggestion, rebuild a safe emotional connection. If you want to keep your relationship safe and healthy, I would say you need to maintain that security of the attachment toward them. The third key for emotional focus couples are that you have to encourage both partners. Both of you you have to encourage each other to become accessible, responsive, and emotionally engaged. That means both people are taking, I would say, the thing to do so that that will make the steps in making your marriage or your relationship work. Okay, and another thing, instead of, again, what we need not to do is to withdraw or accuse each other. Sometimes you have to dig deep and find out what is going on and to be kind of vulnerable about it. Don't be afraid to show your most intimate, your inner feelings. You have to tell your partner, like, I need. Tell them I need. Forget about accusing them, saying what they're not going to do. You give them a chance. And once you give them a chance, and if they don't respond to that chance, then it's on them later on. Because guess what? You did what you needed to do to make that thing work, and they turned the other way. Okay? Lastly, we often blame conflict and poor communication for the failure of our relationships. However, again, it's not an argument that destroys our romantic relationships, but it's the fact of the matter that we start growing apart from each other and becoming emotional distance. Like any other thing worth having, relationships and marriages are hard work, and that they require effort, and definitely they require more dedication than what we think we have. Okay? So in that instance, tonight I just wanted to come to you with something simple, but it's powerful to know, because you cannot continue to distance yourself emotionally, because if you get to that point, it's going to be an end of a relationship if it continues to be so. And sometimes we have to know when that relationship really has gone sour, and we have to know, and we have to learn again. You have to learn to love the sound of your feet walking away from things that are not meant for you, or they are no good for you. Okay? Conflict cannot survive when only one person is participating in that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for tonight. Be your own light on tonight, okay? And for those that are social distancing, let us, even though we are social distancing, let not the social distancing turn to emotional distancing at that time. We can continue to reach out to people, open up, and let people in. Okay, but we may not be able to, to be together right now as everybody used to being, but we can still be there for each other, even on an emotional base. I thank God for you. I bless God on tonight for you all. Have a wonderful and blessed night, and know that there is a way out, and you do not have to be in this situation by yourself. There is hope. Amen. God bless you. Have a wonderful night.